now is the last part of our conference. It's the roundtable, where also the audience from live and Zoom will have option to ask questions. But first, we'll make one round of prepared questions. So Alexander will start. Also, he has now benefit to speak first. So Alexander, tell us, how is in Germany? You are very active to create German Institute for Longevity. Yeah? How is this process going on?
So we take 10 extra minutes. No, yeah, thanks for the question. So I was very happy to see that in the coalition contract, so basically the working program from the government, we actually see a center on aging research, which should be organized by Helmholtz. It's like the biggest German research organization. So that's very good to see, but unfortunately it has been 2.5 years now and it hasn't materialized yet. So I'm really still have my hopes up that it will work now, but we have elections next year and you know how it is. It's better to get it done before the next government comes. So I think we need also some pressure really from civil society to make it happen. Because otherwise it's just, you know, easy to cut with all the budget cuts to just not do it. So trying to increase a little bit civil society pressure there.
Great, thanks for your work. Next question I have for Enej. Enej, what is your vision for development of virtual twins? So how can you imagine in the future, how will this technology evolve that you were presenting today?
Yeah, so I think that with the speed of development of AI and generative AI technologies, I mean the way we see, let's say, our platform evolving, and I think that will be some sort of the future, is that everybody has a personal health companion in whatever device is the de facto device of the future, whether those are AR glasses, as Meta is trying to do now, or the mobile phones or the smart watches or whatever. But you basically have an AI health companion that is, on one hand sides, a full replica of you, but it's also your past and your future, right? So, I mean, you can already today use the statistical analysis of a population and say, well, if this is you with your genetics, you've done so much damage to your body up to now. If you within this space, let's say Ljubljana versus New York or whatever for a Caucasian male, that's your trajectory, right? So, if you don't change, this is where you're going to end up. Now, if we change your path, we're going to change the trajectory. So he becomes really yourself, your reflection, but also your guide. In a way, a digital twin really becomes your, lifelong, let's say, companion in a way, but at the same time also data repository, right? Mm-hmm. So I also think, the way we're looking at building and we said, a very important message, people own their data, right? There is going to be a longevity economy where there is also going to be most likely a, let's say, health economy in terms of people's data. So, and again, not companies exploiting people's data, what they do today, but people owning their data and able to participate in a health economy with their data, should they choose to, right? So I think that this is somehow, it's going to be a very complex question to unravel, but I think that that's kind of where a concept of digital twin will evolve.
Super. Branka has a comment.
May I comment? I am his customer. Yes. No, it's very useful. I mean, for me, it's interesting. I can look at my genes and see what they are and how they are. And I particularly like to look at these genes which are good, which are optimized. The ones which are in focus, this I don't like so much. But I was thinking about this. I mean, okay, I have this on a phone, on a computer, or wherever, and I can look at this. I must go to do blood again for the biological clock. But what is my question here is, how do people see this, how they use this? I mean, for me, I'm geneticist. I know what I'm looking at, you know. This, for me, is easy. I mean, you have good these things that to say that you have optimal, neutral, and focused, parameters, and then you give the instructions also how to improve it, for example. Yeah. But most of them are, just do exercise and eat well. So, no, the question is, I mean, this digital twin, how you will make it that it will be friendly for a person who is not geneticist? Yeah. Or a physician.
Yeah, this is a very good question. So I mean, it's a journey, right? So what we try to do first is build a very thorough science engine that, let's say, decodes these, let's say, complex human data. Now, this engine feeds the, let's say, user-facing output, right? And the first time, of course, because it was a company built by scientists, the user-facing output is a relatively sciencey. But we have the same aim as the question that you pose is, we really want to make that simple to understand and approachable for everyone, and that's still an in between. I believe in the future, really, it becomes your health companion. It speaks to you. It's your partner on a journey, and that is going to be enabled by the, let's say, the upcoming large language models, right? So we already use a lot of the, let's say, work with large language models. Somebody mentioned earlier Claude, so we actually use Claude, yeah? Because the fact is we can use that within our secure AWS infrastructure, which means the data never leaves the cloud of ours, right? So, but our team, and again, Marco, our CTO over there, maybe you can give a short perspective on that. We really want to also make sure when we've been playing with that you ask your digital twin, hey, make me a weekly menu plan based on a Mediterranean diet. I want to have, let's say, maybe 300 calories per day restriction, and I don't like tuna, just throw that out, and make me a shopping list next to it, and also just my wife doesn't like that, so do that, and explain that to me in a high school level language, and it does that amazing. But occasionally it can make AI still makes errors, right? So our team is doing a lot of work on making sure that everything goes through proper QA, QC, and so on before something like that becomes available. But that's really very, very soon around the corner, right? So that's step number one. You're going to be able to interact. Right now, as an in-between, we've created that pro platform for practitioners. So a lot of our users actually work with clinicians or nutritionists who use the pro platform to use that as a way to guide their clients or patients, right? So while you are maybe a biohacker but not knowledgeable, you then work with a practitioner who is knowledgeable and can use the platform to help you on the guide. So that's kind of step in between. Next one is kind of language models. Even further down the line, once we're now connecting that with all the wearables data, we're able to start seeing how you actually respond with real-time information and so on. So that becomes really even more engaging. So we can plug in more like nudging and information and kind of so on. But maybe, I don't know, Marco, do you want to say a couple of words just very quickly as our CTO?
So in technology, we have this approach, walk the talk. And I really I use the technology. I'm not PhD in biology and so forth, and I use our platform, and actually I walk through the stages and actually improve significantly, for example, microbiome and so forth. I was just sharing my data over there. So, but I do agree, I'm not an average user. I use this daily. I'm developing this. There are two aspects. One is, how do we progress with AI, which is exponentially improving? How do we gather more data? And then the other, how do we really change behavior and actually make it understandable for users and also have realistic objectives? Because not everybody is willing to climb, 3-4 floors every time and so forth. So these are very different problems, actually. One is the science, one is digital, one is behavior. It's very, very different things that needs to be dealt with in combination. But our focus primarily is the science and tech. Let's make the best platform. And then, as Enej says, in the first steps, of course, we will utilize the coaches and the clinicians and so forth to help. But I think as time goes on, also the user experience will improve significantly, that it will actually adapt, that also the way that the digital twin will speak to you will be personalized. It will not be the same for every person.
Thank you. Also, Rok has a replica. Rok, please.
Hi. Firstly, I would like to say good evening to all the guests and all the attendees of this conference. I'm very sorry that I couldn't attend, but you've seen my video, probably, video lecture. Yes. And I would here comment, of course, on Branka's reply and on Enej's vision. So let's say that my goal is also, to include also those people who don't have the motivation, to start living healthy, because, even losing weight is a big problem for vast majority of overweight people or obese people. So, and of course, we cannot get rid of certain stressors in our life. We can do better, of course, but not everybody has the right initiative to do so. I cannot sleep 8 hours because I have a lot of things to do. I cannot keep my sleep time every day from same hour, so from 10 to 6. Sometimes I go to sleep at midnight, sometimes later, sometimes sooner, but rarely sooner. So my thought on that would be, to provide people with easy diagnostics. So I think that in the future the diagnostic will be. So this is one way that Enej is doing, which I think is great work. But the other way that I think the future will go is in self-diagnostic home tests. So this is something, because I don't want to draw blood every month or every 2 months, and I don't want, to take my feces and send it to a lab and so on and so on. So I hope that the diagnostic field will, in near future become competitive to the lab analysis, so the people could actually make their own tests at home. We already now have, the capillary blood tests, so the COVID test, for example, also chromatographic tests and urine tests. They're not so accurate as the lab tests, of course, but I hope that in the future the technology will proceed in advance. And of course, I would like to, propose people treatments that would protect them from the stressors if they actually don't have the motivation to disable them or to get rid of them, So people, it's like the study that was done by near Barzilai on the 100-year-olds, where he found certain genetic elements, genetic variations that enabled some higher ratios of specific molecules in those blood, which of course they were just guessing what they mean. But, I envision this so that you could eat something concentrated, from either synthetic or from the nature, that could actually, protect your system more and enable you, to somehow, at least somehow neutralize the stressors from the environment.
Thank you, Rok. Maybe I go to the next question, and we can later have discussion of this topic of testing.
Yeah, there was interest, you could see.
Okay, so Melissa, what can individuals do to help longevity movement? Like individuals who are not doctors or medical scientists or,
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and the conversation that we were having about noon just now made me think about this really clearly. So one of the things, at least we need to do this in the US, and then I'll get more global, but it's really true that the public needs better scientific knowledge. And in the US, it's really at a low, right? The education system is just at a low point in terms of encouraging and also just teaching well the sciences if you look at the US on the whole. Usually at a conference like this, you're surrounded by the people that have gone down the path to study science, so you wouldn't necessarily know that. You all have colleagues in the US, whether it's in industry or at scientific conferences, and they're great. But go to a public school. I don't want to pick on a particular state, so I'll avoid that. It's so easy. But go to a public middle school and pick a state, any state almost. Terrible, right? And so one of the things that we can all do, and I don't know the ways how, but is have it as a goal to raise the general level of scientific knowledge. Not everybody is going to be a geneticist, so new has to be more accessible. Absolutely. But you do want people to actually have a general understanding of what they're looking at, and I don't actually believe that most people in the US would right now. And then it also, I want to say some other things about what we can all do to support this field and support science generally, biomedical research generally. But I also want to ask the new guys, have you thought about or heard other people ask you about the notion of people having the system but trying to game it? Like people try and game the Apple Watch, you know, like, I don't know if you know who David Sedaris is. He's an amazing comedian. You should read his books. He's so funny. I went and saw him speak at Berkeley. And he talks about, he has the Apple Watch and he talks about how he's on the airplane and he's doing this to get his hours of stand, right? And that's just one way we can game the system. The watch wants you to stand 12 hours a day because it wants you to get up and move, not because it wants you to stand 12 hours a day, which you can get by going like this on an airplane. Although I do it too now that I heard him say it. I want my 12 hours when I'm traveling here. Oh, it totally works. Oh my God, sit for a minute sometime and just get your hour of stand. Do you think I'm kidding? The guy is right. Exactly. But so that's the point. You could game new somehow also. So just think about that. And then I will say a couple more things about what we can all do as members of the public ourselves, whether you are scientists or you're here today because you're science curious. I don't know. I'm not a scientist, as I've told you, but you're at least science curious or longevity curious. So we can all try and raise the level of the conversation about it, and we can also just support the efforts of the people working in it, whether it's working with the government to try and get funding for it, to try and get, business corridors built around it. These are things that I've seen happen in different areas of the United States. I'm not as familiar with how such things work. I was asking Alex at dinner last night in terms of how certain things might work in Germany. But, if you don't ask for it, you'll never get it. Right? The elected officials are never going to say, hey, let's spend some money to build up a longevity science corridor in North Carolina. But if you ask for it, they might. And then 5 years later or 10 years later, you may see, wow, in this area, we have one of the strongest business sectors in this field that is growing like gangbusters. It's going to be good economically. It's going to raise the level of the science conversation because people in the area are going to be employed. Everybody in the Bay Area knows more about AI than most other people do, right? Maybe still get too excited and don't understand the limitations of it, but that's another conversation. But everybody can participate. There are all kinds of ideas, and you can support it from so many perspectives. Economic, patients, the fact that you are a patient. Even if you're 2 years old, you're getting older. Yeah. You've got some inflammation. Anyway, well, that's true. So I'll stop there.
Thanks. Mm-hmm. It's okay, I have this one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe to just respond to
the
gaming part, right?
Gaming, yes.
Yeah. So sure. I mean, if you game your health to be better, that's actually a good one, right? So it's kind of hard to trick your systemic health to not work in your favor if you game it well. But I agree that that's ridiculous. No, what we do find, and I especially kind of as I get approached in various meetings. You find people who are self-proclaimed biohackers who are obsessive about the measurement and the data, right? Yes. And they almost lose perspective on life,
I agree
right?
with you. Yeah.
And so life is more than just data, right? Mm-hmm. Exactly. Life should be fun. And you said you'll go for, a glass of wine. I mean, Slovenia makes great wine.
I know, I learned.
You know, so and so life should be lived, right? But life should be lived. You know, I think that there is a balance. You know, the fact that we've spoken earlier about your user manual, that gives you a guidance, right? And if you use the data to support the right direction, that's amazing. But then, you know, kind of cheating every now and then to have that joyful life, also that gives you, I believe, much more pleasure than having that donut every single day, right?
Agreed.
You do it on the one time when you have the carnival or whatever, right? You know, I have donuts on the carnival, right?
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
no one would guess that. They probably think this guy never eats sugar,
Right?
doesn't drink alcohol. He's human. He's human.
So
Oh my
anyway,
gosh,
but
look
that
him.
I think that's the part of the gaming that I think could be dangerous, and I think that the digital twin, once properly, let's say, you know, interactive, should be also able to guide you on. Hey, you know, you've asked me 20 questions today, and enough. Just you know, go out
Go
and
relax. Go have a
have
glass
some
of
fun,
wine.
right? Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Now I have a question for Rok. So Rok, you made fantastic lecture about royal jelly, and if I understand, it's really healthy for us to eat royal jelly. My question is, do you really suggest it? And what are other natural things that you would suggest to include in our everyday food? Well, I mean, you are researching in Medex on natural substances that help health. So, what are your thoughts about it?
Yes, Martin, thank you for the question. So, well, we don't have, longitudinal data regarding the health of consuming royal jelly. So what we did was only 2-month study. Of course, there are also other studies which are longer, also lasting for a year or so, showing different benefits. But you know, if we were in the pharmaceutical world, this would be totally different. But for now, we have some clues, you know, on which systems royal jelly is working. Actually, what is the consequence of eating royal jelly daily? You know, we have several anecdotes. So the father of our CEO, Alesha Michigoy, he's now 97 years old, and he had, you know, a major cancer incidence 40 years ago, and from then on, he ate royal jelly 2 grams per day. And you know, this is a nice story, but you know, you have to back it up with clinical data, of course. So what I suggest, so from our results, we've seen that it actually lowers the systemic inflammation markers, which is beneficial. It's not the only substance in nature that does that. So you can also, if you would test, for example, the polyphenols, also from propolis, you would probably get similar results. So the point is that many of the antioxidants, which are also in royal jelly, work in this way. So, but what are polyphenols? It's healthy food, you know. So it's vegetables and fruits and so on. So actually, it shows us how healthy food works on us. It's not just the royal jelly. But anyway, we've seen also some specific mechanisms that you don't observe otherwise in other substances. As I was lecturing regarding the epigenetic effects of royal jelly, which still yet has to be confirmed, of course, in human trial, which I hope we will be doing in the next 3 years through our research project in collaboration with the faculty. Of course, we can only do studies on healthy people, and royal jelly is a very complex compound, so we cannot do it on patients, of course, because it's regarded as food supplement. But we will see if there are any changes, I hope. So yes, I suggest taking royal jelly. As I said, my goal, or the goal of Medex, is, of course, to support healthy lifestyle, but who doesn't, you know? So it's the government does, the school does it, the kindergarten does it, but you know, we still live in unhealthy. But some of the unhealthy habits are chosen by ourselves, but the other ones are just there, so nobody can escape them. So what I would suggest, you know, that people take different I don't know, supplements. So we have even medicine working in this field, but not for the purpose of anti-aging, of course. That people should take this, to protect themselves against the lifestyle that they cannot eliminate from their living, of course, and also for the lifestyle that they do not have the motivation to eliminate, because I think that there are not a lot of people. So people that deal a lot with healthy longevity, they already now live very healthy, so they probably won't gain any much advantage. Maybe a few years, I think. I don't know. The real problem are the people that don't deal with longevity and don't use these apps and all the smart watches and smart rings and so on. So those are the people that I would like to target with health products.
Thanks. Okay. My next question is for Gordana. So as a doctor, and you also have companies that deal with medicine, how do you help people who say that they want to slow aging or they want to live longer? How is your approach?
My approach is my approach. You can't skip 5 pillars of normal, productive life. As I said in my talk, that you can't skip movement, diet, not diet, but eating products which help the organism the way the organism needs. Then it's a peaceful mindset, there is a social network, and it's, of course, the first pillar is exercise. And we are going to climb the 8th floor. I'm climbing. Welcome. And if a client comes to me, I'm not speaking about the patients. The patients, they need a different treatment. They need to be treated for the disease or for the condition they are seeking the help. But if somebody approaches for the terms of the longevity, let's start 5 pillars. Let me hear and see and check on the person what they are already doing. Some are more focused, some are more diagnostic focused. But what is your benefit with all these numbers? Is there any extra benefit? Everybody suffered the lower back pain. That's the most common pain. Do you want an MRI? Yes, but yet you are not going to get it in my practice. If my first question is, are you going to be operated? Because the only person who needs the MRI for the lower back pain is the orthopedic surgeon. Nobody, even the patient or myself, because the clinical status is so clear. And if we continue, and I owe you another explanation about medications, I forgot. There are hormonal replacement therapy. Do you know the difference between andropause and menopause? Majority of here, just gender equal at the moment. I'm very happy that men stayed, because my most grateful clients, they're not patients, clients are men. Over the 50, 60, 70 years old. Have you ever seen an andropause man? No. Oh, yes, you did.
Oh, I have, okay.
The one who changes the car to a bike, a car to a car convertible. The answer to the question is, andropause is more fun. Because when you see a menopausal woman, they're already fat and without hair. They don't take care about themselves. But with the hormonal replacement therapy, it works better, because after the age of 45, 50 years old, women, we just decline. And when we decline fast, and men, they decline slow. And some years ago, and one of the best congresses I ever participated about women health and work, it was not feministic congress, it was very scientific. The colleague of mine told us why there are so low number of women on the high positions. It is due to the fact that we are mothers, so we have our career after motherhood. It means like after 5, 6, 4, depends how many children we have, and men are already on run. So when we turn 45 and children they left home, we are ready for the career and the menopause starts. Yes. And just to conclude, if the one is not prepared to participate fully, but at least on some part of the 5 pillars of their own responsibility to health, they're not prescribed. And even though they would ask me to get the full body systemic mesenchymal therapy, which is expensive, they are not getting it. It's against my ethical conclusions. You can't skip to the medications. You have to follow the steps, and then at the end of that road, if the medications are needed, yes, you're obliged to get it. And as you can't get MRI for the lower back pain, you can't get mesenchymal stem cells, even though they are working, just because you can pay for it. You have to do it yourself first.
Good, and I don't think people should get Ozempic either.
No way.
In that situation. I mean,
No.
they're so severely diabetic that it will help them get past that, but it shouldn't be taken
Absolutely.
for the rest of their lives. It may not be a good idea anyway. To have
It's already obvious that Ozempic doesn't work. It doesn't work for longevity. It doesn't work for body mass index. What works is your mindset. It's your movement. It's your support of the expert of the field. And at the end of the road, there are some medications. Also metformin. Yes, I use metformin for many years because it helps methylation. But I first do my 5 pillars.
Thanks. Okay. Yeah, just can you give
a short comment? I think you touched within your monologue one very important item that is, even though I've been now pretty much at all the major longevity conferences in the last few years and so on, it's still not a regularly discussed topic, is the aspect of female longevity. Right? So you mentioned menopause and andropause. And of course, andropause, we can joke about the grumpy old man, but the fact, we say in statistics, okay, women live, a few years longer in average than men and so on. And statistically, that is true. But we don't talk a lot about the fact that women tend to have a significantly longer duration of chronic illness in the old age. So dementia kicks in earlier, cardiovascular disease kicks in earlier.
Cardiovascular disease kick later.
Sure?
Yes, I am. Because of the estriol, that's why women die later. A majority of death in women are due to the cardiovascular events.
Yeah.
Because we live longer. That's why. Yeah. But
Okay.
Yeah, that's scientific number.
Okay. So in either case, a lot of the chronic illnesses start with women much earlier than men. So that's I think an important statistical number. I'm 100% sure for that, and I think also for cardiovascular. I'll find the quotes. But the fact is that there is a bunch of aspects in terms of women's health that are differently addressed or not being addressed, that are quite specific in the old age and lead to a significant longer chronic illness. That is, I think, a very important part that we don't talk much about.
Yeah, we don't speak about that, especially cardiovascular diseases. The treatment for a woman between age of 40 and 50 and the man between age and 40 and 50 should be different. That's already obvious. And there are clinics in the world which are specialized on women's health for the cardiovascular diseases because there's a huge difference. And from my experience, if you have a woman with myocardial infarction at the age of 40 or a little bit later, it's genetics. But many men die in this age due to the same event. And women, we have cardiovascular events after the menopause because the estradiol and estrogen protection works for our but you can replace it, so you can skip it.
Great, and we talked about genetics, so I'm happy to ask Branka a question. So one question and one sub-question. So, how do you see genetics help longevity therapies? Is it just to explain the longevity, or also to help us enhance genetics? And sub-questions about the teaching of sciences. What is your opinion how to help scientific knowledge increase?
Well, about the education, I would agree with Melissa. Also in Slovenia, the general knowledge, biological knowledge is catastrophe. Absolutely, it's not very good because it's such a mentality. If you don't know, for example, one writer, like we say, Visoška Kronika, you are not cultural, ne?
Yeah.
But if you don't know how your body works, that this is normal, this is fine, which this I can't agree, nah? Because I think in our education system that we have to put more emphasis onto the biological education because it's important. Really, it's important. Yeah, really, it's important because for, it would be beneficial for the whole society. Né? This is so. Now, about the longevity, you know that it was initiated. We kind of introduced two courses on the one at the biotechnical faculty at the course the biotechnology study, and another course at the health faculty for the nurses. And we are dealing with these principles of longevity. For biotechnologists, this of course very scientifically based, scientifically oriented. These guys are also lecturing there. And for nurses, I mean, it's more to explain them what is how to distinguish what is science-based and what is not science-based. Because here is a very thin line between this aging industry is very strong, and it's a very thin line and very easy, you know, to kind of fall after this, how they call it, snake oil or something like, yeah. So these are first things, but I think it's necessary to do more on the educational level. There are some initiatives at the university level, one kind of multi-something center for research and development has been established where different faculties, different professionals are participating, but it's not going very well. Ne? The sociological side is well covered. And economic side, okay, but this we have a very strong, there is a student of social gerontology, yeah. And these fields are okay. Medicine, I mean, this is catastrophe. It's only what they are dealing okay with the Alzheimer, dementia. Or neuroscience, here it's more, but the rest, I must say that I'm quite surprised. Like was a question that I come to my general practitioner and say, okay, my genes are this and this. I mean, he will throw me out. Very simple.
Yeah, Alex, here's a reply.
Yeah, maybe just a quick comment, and I don't have the perfect answer to that, but saying, as you talked about the level of education and information, what we see in politics, I mean, politicians have never been very, liked or so, but what we see now is that doctors and scientific staff and scientists are not seen as trustworthy anymore. So we fight a lot with disinformation on the political level, but also when it comes to science. I mean, don't want to quote, hopefully not again, president about taking whatever to disinfectant to, yeah. So, but in Germany, we actually, it's a big fear that I see we need more honest brokers, more societies which really can advise the people and not also with now some unfortunately large language models, you actually see if they are used by some companies, they inform people in a certain way. And it's often, I mean, there was a case now on, I think you could do like a diary on your symptoms, and then for some strange reason you always had to take one supplement in the end. Yeah, so that's people found out, but it took like a month or two. Yeah, it was running for 1 or 2 months, this system. So I think this is another huge problem. I don't know. I don't yet have the answer to it, but yeah.
Thanks. Okay, now we have floor open to the audience. Live or Zoom? Yes.
Hi, my name is Anna. I'm forest therapy practitioner. I would like to ask you if you know the term nature deficit disorder and what's your opinion about that. And I would like to ask Enej if he takes his digital twin to the forest.
Oh, yeah. So I'll start and say I have heard that term. And it's definitely part of, I would say, the general conversation about well-being in the US. People talk about needing to get back out into nature, to forest bathe, and there are benefits to all of this. But the interesting thing to me about the fact that nature deficit disorder likely exists for a lot of people in a country like the US, even though we have a lot of nature, also a lot of national parks and what have you. But it's interesting how that conversation happens in a vacuum while we continue to consume things that mean the Amazon must be destroyed, for example, where, in the Amazon or, under the water in the oceans that we're destroying also, there may be answers to longevity as just one example of what there may be answers to. So yes, I've heard of it. And it should be part of the conversation, but I wish it wasn't had in a vacuum, ignoring, for example, climate change.
Okay, so thank you for the question, and I do. So, and I can reply in two ways. So, first will be non-technical. So I live on the edge of a forest. I'm kind of the last house with a meadow and a spring, and then forest starting up to the top of the hill. And we go to the hill, several times a week. And each time I come home from work, I go out for a bit and so on. But since the last year or so, I started to follow my son, who is, since he was 3, he always walks barefoot all the way to the top of Rashica, if you know it. So that's it's an hour and a half of walking barefoot all the time, even during the winter. So I started to do that, and it's quite an amazing experience to really feel the ground and all the, the rocks and so on, and also the mud and everything. So I do that. It's really, really meditative. But on the other hand side, I take my digital twin. So I've got, for example, the very strong fast twitch muscle fiber type genetics, so actin 3 and so on. So I've always been very much about explosive sports. I build muscle very fast. I've got the fat genes as well, as I mentioned earlier, so I take care of that. So my body composition is pretty decent. I've got plenty of muscle, very lean fat profile, close to zero visceral fat, strong bone mineral density, and so on. But this is because I trained that way. What I started to learn through my digital twin is that basically my cardiorespiratory fitness, even though that my genetics is pretty good for that, is not that good. I do high intensity interval training, but still my VO2 max is horrible. So I'm starting to pay a lot of attention as I go out into the forest, into the mountain, several times a week, that I train for my cardiorespiratory fitness, that I train for my VO2 max. Fast intervals, small, I go to zone 4, zone 3, zone 2, zone 4, zone 3, zone 2, and so on. So I do a lot of that because, again, VO2 max has started to show as being one of the major markers of longevity. Yeah? So, yes, both in a meditative state, but also in a very, very digitally monitored state.
May I just reply? I just want to add that I read some researches, and it's not just about minutes in nature, it's also what you do in nature. The presence and our connection to nature is through our senses. And sometimes, you know, when you're in the city center, you have to switch off the senses, and in nature, you switch on the senses. So next time, when you're in nature, stop a little bit also and just pay attention.
I can reflect, comment on that actually. So
I'm getting my exercise.
So very true, and I'm all about, you know, optimizing every minute of my time. Unfortunately, I do take my 10-minute meditation per day, but while I'm doing my red light therapy, though, so I'm kind of combining the two.
But two are actually a negative. I'm kidding.
No, it's not. But you know, what I used to do when I went out to the nature, I mean, to the forest, walking up and so on, I always used to have an audiobook. So at least I would, and on twice the speed, because I would, you know, consume a lot of data. I stopped doing that. So basically, you know, I came to realize that indeed exactly what you said, the contact with nature and the birds and the you know the sound of the water flow or whatever, or the cracking of the trees is the stuff you should be paying attention to. But yeah, I mean, exactly, I agree.
Just a little joke. Maybe this avatar should also be a psychotherapist to motivate you.
Okay. Did everybody hear that?
Yeah. Okay. Any other question from the audience live? No? Zoom?
We can do one question for anyone who wants to answer.
Okay.
So the question goes, do you think that in the future the cosmetics industry could also use epigenetic testing to produce personalized skincare products?
Absolutely.
Do you see the future in this field? This comes from Carolina.
Who wants?
Cosmetic industry is just as an industry, and when the industry uses the results of any science, it works. We still remember the first cosmetic creams for the face, they were full of corticosteroids. It worked for a certain period of time, but after that, the side effects came out. And for the exosomes, which are side effects of the mesenchymal stem cells, we can use it in the cosmetic industry. And the Taiwanese and the Koreans and the Japanese, they are using them enormously and successfully. We can't do it here in Europe. We are producing exosomes in Gaia cell, but we don't have, I would say, the birth certificate for them, because they are not explained in the legislation. They are forbidden for cosmetic industry, and it's silly. I can use mesenchymal stem cells for the cosmetic purpose, and the side effect of mesenchymal stem cells, exosomes, I can't use because they have human origin. That's silly. And I believe the exosomes and the other extracellular vesicles would make a huge change in cosmetic industry, and you can already find the creams and the lotions and any other cosmetical products which declare that they have stem cells inside. Some they do, 1 or 2, but what you need is 1 million, 2 million, 10 million, 100 million. That works.
Okay.
So when you talk about epigenetics, a big part of the discussion around epigenetics is also cellular senescence, and it's a no-brainer why, you know, the skin gets saggy, we get wrinkles and so on. The cells stop functioning, they become senescent. So the senolytics are a big part of research, and it's partly tied to the epigenetics. But there's also a lot about genetics that is going to drive a lot of the cosmetics industry, because there are certain genes that have a very specific mode of function when it comes to photoaging. So when you look at people's genetics, there are certain types of genetic profiles that, and you can see that, you know, you see a very, very, let's say, high vitality, vibrant, and so on, old person, right? But with a very, very old skin, right? And then you have vice versa, somebody that has, still youngish looking skin, but on the inside is rotten, right? So photo aging actually has a very, very unique profile in terms of genetics.
Maybe question for Rok. How is with the natural substances and cosmetics? Do you also research this in MEDEX? Or you focus more on health of organism?
Oh, yeah, so we also do some cosmetics, but you can be on all fronts. It's interesting from the research perspective, of course. But so for now we are more focusing on oral forms, not cosmetic. But we had royal jelly face cream. We still have the bee venom face cream, and it works really interesting. So the bee venom actually improves the blood circulation in the upper levels of the skin, and it works like a Botox, but it's just for a short time, and usually the skin gets adapted to this venom through time, so in a month or so, and then you have to reset your body and try again. But it's a nice product, and it's a thing that royal jelly, of course, should be also tried in clinical applications for the skin. But we're not doing that currently.
Thanks. Okay, so I think the hour is bit late, so if anyone else has a question on Zoom, for the last one,
Hi, my name is Danila. I'm not sure, I'm wondering, maybe you've touched that subject while I was missing, but I heard nobody mention the EMF radiation, and I think this is a very strong influence on our lives, on our health. What do you think about that?
Who wants?
Electromagnetic? EMF, radiation. Okay. I mean, we have it in home and everywhere.
I don't have microwave.
Yeah.
I don't use microwave. I have a router for my house that low density that I don't have it in my bedroom.
For your internet.
From the internet, yeah.
Okay.
And there are already scientifically proven results that the glioblastoma, which is malignant tumor of the brain, is connected to the radiation of the magnetism. Oh, what's the word? Electromagnetic field. Yeah, thank you. And I would advise not to use earbuds for the mobile phones because they're directly between your brain. And if you go with the phone, go with the stripe, not with the phone in your ear. We can't prevent it anymore, but we can lower the density. And if you travel a lot on a plane, it counts. So stay home, go to forest, exercise, have fun. You can't prevent everything in your life, but you can be, empowered. So at least if somebody stays out of the buds in your ear, we did the prospect. And if you don't have microwave or something like that for your food, because it's still there.
But maybe your neighbor has it. Next to the room where you sleep.
Yeah, I don't know, but I'm blessed with the house, so my neighbor doesn't have it.
No, but I meant also how it works on the genetic, predisposition, or I don't know.
I'm not an expert of that field. No.
But what can be the
I can say only this. I don't know a lot, but I was listening to some electro people which are biologically oriented, Miklaučić maybe someone, and he thinks that there is no influence. Yeah, that is his opinion. No, kind of. I mean, he discussed this also publicly a lot and had some arguments. But as I said, I don't know much about it.
Okay, Enej and Rok.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's
Rok
hard,
later.
It's hard to say, right? So I'm wondering which papers you have in mind in terms of the glioblastoma, because I saw several papers with glioblastoma, and they were all in vitro, not in vivo. And I actually attended. I actually attended a whole session. It was like 5 lectures now in the last World Health Optimization Summit in London that was dedicated to this topic, and the data that was presented there was extremely weak, and most of the kind of pro-EMF scare was presented by companies which were actually making devices to shield from EMF, etc. So they were trying to promote, like, buy our product so you don't get EMF exposure. I think that, kind of ideas that you mentioned, have your Wi-Fi router somewhere in the, facility room or whatever, that, by the time it gets to your bedroom is weak. Maybe you have your timer switch off. I put my phone on an airplane mode, but even that, the data supporting any kind of, clear correlation between that and the actual in vivo cellular damage is, I've not seen any strong evidence really, but I know that there's a heated debate, but there's also a heated debate about our auras and many other things. So,
okay, Rok.
Yes, I just wanted to to comment that the new Meta glasses are coming out, smart glasses. I don't know how will that work if all the EMF story is true. I will buy them. I hope so, and test them, the holographic ones. And of course, it's all about the magnitude of the effect. We are exposed to many different stressors from the environment, and surely the contributions from all these factors are not the same. So if you, for example, smoke, you shouldn't worry about EMF, I say, or something like, or similar scenarios. Or if you eat unhealthy and you're overweight, you don't have to worry about EMF. It may be a drop in the ocean. So you have to take this magnitude of effect also in mind.
Yeah, thanks for this answer, Rok. Okay, so we ended with questions. I ask you for a big applause for our lecturers.
And big applause for Martin.
Yeah, and the team. Yeah, and sure. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, and we see you next year. Yeah. And this is the end.